The rejection email landed at 11:47 p.m. Again, I stared at the screen, keeping my face calm even though no one was there to see it. My stomach still twisted. This was the 8th rejection in 6 months, even though every interview had gone perfectly. One hiring manager had practically promised the job. Then my phone buzzed, a text from Carly Bennett. "I'm so sorry, Shandy. They don't deserve you anyway." I froze. I hadn't told anyone yet. I'd opened the email maybe 30 seconds earlier. So how did she already know? My thumbs hovered over the keyboard. Confusion, suspicion, something heavier. Instead of replying, I scrolled back to the email header. Timestamp 11:15 p.m., 32 minutes earlier. And then I saw it. A forwarding trail. Automatic. The rejection had been sent to someone else first before it ever reached me. My chest went tight. I clicked deeper into the routing data. And the name I found there made everything inside me go quiet. Because suddenly, this wasn't bad luck anymore. It was sabotage. I got to work early the next morning, trying to act normal. Routine helps when your world starts tilting. Coffee, laptop, deep breaths, keep moving. That's always been my rule. As I passed the conference room, I heard voices inside, low, careful, executive managers. I wasn't trying to listen, but one sentence stopped me cold. "We can't risk it." Too many concerns tied to her name. Her name? My pulse spiked. My record was spotless. Strong reviews, perfect attendance, no complaints. Then the door opened suddenly. Carly stepped out. For a split second, surprise flashed across her face when she saw me. Then came that familiar warm smile, the one everyone trusted. The managers behind her went silent. One avoided my eyes completely. "Morning, Shandy," another said stiffly. Something felt off, so I asked directly, "Is something wrong?" They exchanged a glance. Then one said something that made my stomach drop. "Maybe you should ask your reference." Reference? I only had one person consistently helping with my job search. Carly. And for the first time, that thought didn't feel comforting. "My name is Shandy York. I'm 28, and for 3 years my career has been quietly falling apart for reasons I couldn't explain. Perfect interviews, strong qualifications, excited hiring managers. Then silence. Then rejection. Every time. Through all of it, Carly Bennett was my biggest supporter. Resume edits, interview practice, encouraging texts, ice cream after disappointments. She called herself my career cheerleader. I believed her. That afternoon, she offered to review my portfolio again. "Fresh eyes help," she said, reaching for my laptop. I handed it over without hesitation, because that's what you do with someone you trust. Later that night, I reopened the document and froze. There were edits, recent ones, subtle wording changes that shifted my tone from confident to arrogant, just enough to make employers uncomfortable. My stomach dropped, because suddenly I wondered, had she been helping me? Or reshaping how the world saw me? And once that question entered my mind, I couldn't ignore it anymore. I called Carly immediately, keeping my tone light. "Hey, quick question. Did you tweak my portfolio wording?" She laughed easily. "Oh yeah, just tightened a few phrases. You know me. Casual, harmless." That's how it sounded. I told her it looked fine and hung up, but something felt wrong, so I reread everything carefully. Most edits were minor, helpful even, except one line buried in my summary. "I exceed the qualifications of typical candidates." It sounded arrogant, defensive, off. I deleted it instantly, saved the file. End of story, I thought. Until the next morning. A recruiter emailed me, cold tone, professional distance, and there, quoted directly in the rejection message, was that exact line, the one I deleted hours earlier, the one Carly had access to. My hands started shaking, because that meant one thing: someone had seen that document before it was corrected. Someone who knew exactly where to send it. And suddenly, trust didn't feel safe anymore. I sat at my kitchen table for hours replaying everything. Every opportunity I'd told Carly about, every promising interview, every rejection that followed within days, sometimes hours. Once I started looking, the pattern was impossible to ignore. It wasn't coincidence. It was timing. And timing usually has a source. So I ran a test, I applied for a role and told absolutely no one. No Carly, no family, no journal entry. Silence. By Thursday, I had an interview scheduled. It went perfectly. The hiring manager sounded excited, optimistic. 48 hours for next steps. Hope crept in cautiously. Maybe I'd been paranoid. Maybe everything really was just bad luck. Then 36 hours later, another email arrived. Interview canceled. They'd received new information about my qualifications. Information I hadn't shared. Information only one person usually had access to. I stared at the screen, heart steady, mind clearer than it had been in years, because now I wasn't guessing anymore. I was investigating. And if my suspicion was right, the betrayal wasn't recent. It had been happening for years. I called the recruiter immediately. My voice sounded calm, professional. Inside, my heart was racing. I just want to understand, I said carefully. Is there something I should improve for future applications? A long pause, then a sigh. I probably shouldn't say this, she admitted, but someone contacted us about you. Someone who said they knew you well and had concerns. My stomach tightened. Who? I asked. I can't give a name, she replied softly. But it was a woman. She said she worked closely with you. Silence stretched between us. Then she added one detail she clearly hadn't meant to. She called from your office number, said she felt obligated to warn us. My office, where I still worked. Where only one person tracked every interview, every application, every hopeful conversation. Carly Bennett. The call ended quickly after that. Probably too much had already been said, but it was enough, because now suspicion wasn't emotional anymore. It was evidence. And once you see evidence, you can't unsee it. I didn't confront Carly. Not yet. Emotions cloud strategy, so I got quiet instead. That weekend, I built a spreadsheet. Every job rejection from the past 2 years. Application date, interview date, rejection date, and most importantly, when I'd told Carly about each opportunity. The pattern was terrifying. Every single opportunity I'd shared with her died within 72 hours, sometimes faster. But one memory hit hardest. A senior marketing role I'd dreamed about for years. Final round interview, team lunch, near verbal offer, then silence, then rejection. I checked my calendar again. The day between interview and rejection? Dinner with Carly. I remembered her questions now. Detailed, specific, too specific. At the time I'd felt supported. Now I saw it differently. She hadn't been encouraging me. She'd been gathering information and possibly sending it somewhere, while sitting right across from me. That realization didn't make me angry. It made me careful, because if she'd done it once, she'd do it again. I needed proof, not suspicion. Proof. So I set a trap. I drafted an email to myself disguised as a recruiter message. Prestigious company, dream role, perfect fit, professional formatting, realistic tone, convincing. Then I left my laptop open at work, email visible, and stepped out for coffee. 20 minutes. That's all. When I returned, Carly sat at her desk looking completely normal. Typing, focused, relaxed. Too relaxed. She glanced up, smiled warmly, then returned to work. 5 minutes later, she asked casually, "How's the job search going?" "Same," I said, "nothing new." She nodded sympathetically. Then, almost too casually, "Have you heard of Weston and Pike Consulting? The fake company. The one from my staged email." My pulse steadied. "I haven't," I replied. "Oh," she said lightly. "Just curious." An hour later, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Voicemail. I stepped into the bathroom to listen, and when Carly's voice came through the speaker, professional, calm, warning them about me, the last piece of doubt disappeared. I played the voicemail 3 times, not because I doubted what I heard, because I needed to accept it. Carly's voice sounded polished, credible, exactly how someone sabotaging quietly would sound. I have concerns about her stability under pressure. My chest tightened. She was painting me as unreliable, risky, unhireable. Then came the worst part. "I've been documenting things," she said smoothly. "I can provide screenshots if needed." Documentation, fabricated evidence, planned sabotage. This wasn't impulsive jealousy. This was systematic. Years of it. I saved the voicemail, backed it up twice, cloud storage, external drive. Then I walked back to my desk. Carly looked up instantly. Concerned smile. "Everything okay?" I smiled back. "Perfect." And in that moment, I realized something important. She thought she was still in control, which meant she wouldn't stop. And that gave me time to build a stronger case. The next morning, I scheduled a confidential meeting with Human Resources. Careful wording. No accusations yet, just questions. The HR manager reviewed my files slowly. "Your record is clean," she said finally. "Strong performance, no formal complaints." Relief flickered, briefly. Then she hesitated. "There was one thing," she added. "Someone tried submitting informal concerns about you a few weeks ago. Not processed, but logged." My heartbeat picked up. "Do you know who?" "It came from internal email," she said carefully. Then she asked something unexpected. Do you know why Carly Bennett requested your personnel contact list recently? My stomach dropped. My contact list? She nodded. Emergency contacts, references, professional connections. She said it was for a networking initiative. Networking. Except that list included recruiters, hiring managers, professional mentors, everyone connected to my career growth, and Carly had access to all of it. Which explains something chilling. She didn't just overhear opportunities, she intercepted them. And if she had that much access, I suddenly wondered how deep this sabotage really went, because what I'd uncovered so far might only be the beginning. I kept my face neutral around Carly Bennett. No confrontation, no emotion. If she knew I was investigating, she'd get smarter. So when she invited me to lunch the next day, I went. Same cafe, same table, same routine. She chatted easily about work deadlines and weekend plans, like nothing had changed. Then she said it. Casual, soft, almost caring. You know, Shandy, maybe you should lower your goals for a while. I looked up slowly. Lower them? She nodded sympathetically. Just temporarily, you keep aiming high and the disappointment seems hard on you. Maybe entry-level roles would be safer. Safer. That word lingered, because what she meant was, stay small, stay behind me. I'll think about it, I said. She smiled, satisfied. Then she opened her phone, typing quickly. When she flipped it face down, I'd already seen enough. Notes app. My name at the top. Bullet points underneath. Not encouragement. Documentation. And suddenly lunch didn't feel friendly anymore. It felt like surveillance. That night, fate handed me another piece. I ran into a former coworker, Kyle, at the grocery store. Casual conversation at first, until he said, "Hey, I heard you got fired from that startup job years ago. That must have been tough." Everything inside me froze. "I've never been fired," I replied calmly. He blinked. "Really? Because I definitely heard that." "From who?" He hesitated, then remembered. "Carly Bennett. She said you asked her to keep it quiet." The cart handle pressed cold against my hands, so the rumors weren't accidental, they were engineered. I thanked him, finished shopping mechanically, and went home. That night, I started calling people. Old colleagues, contacts, mentors, light questions, casual tone, consistent answers. Every rumor, every negative whisper, every doubt about my professionalism started with Carly. And the worst part? People believed her. Because she sounded concerned, helpful, trustworthy. Exactly how sabotage hides. By morning, I had confirmation. Every rumor traced back to Carly Bennett. Deadline struggles, personality conflicts, fabricated performance concerns, a carefully constructed professional myth. Then an email arrived, from a recruiter I'd spoken with months ago. Direct, careful. "Someone contacted us with a character warning about you. We chose not to act on it, but you deserve to know." My chest tightened. I asked for details. The reply came fast. "A woman claiming to be your coworker. She provided what she called documentation." Documentation. That word again. Screenshots, notes, records. She wasn't just talking, she was archiving, building a case against me quietly, methodically, and suddenly one memory resurfaced. Clear. Uncomfortable. Carly borrowing my laptop months ago, saying hers wasn't working. An hour alone with my files. At the time it felt harmless. Now it felt strategic, and I needed to see what she'd left behind. That night I pulled out my external backup drive. If Carly had created anything on my laptop, traces might exist there. Hours passed, folders, subfolders, hidden temp files. Then I found it, buried deep inside a folder labeled Work Templates. A document, Shandy, Risk Notes. My pulse slowed, that strange calm before emotional impact. I opened it, it was a profile. About me. Written by Carly. Every vulnerability I'd ever shared privately, twisted. Career doubts framed as instability. Normal stress labeled emotional volatility. Personal struggles weaponized. And then the tracking section. Companies, recruiters, interview dates. She'd been monitoring my career like a project, not a friend, a project. At the very bottom was one sentence. If she gets promoted, I'm done. That wasn't insecurity. That was motive, and motive changes everything. I stared at that sentence for a long time, because suddenly 3 years made sense. This wasn't random rejection. This wasn't bad luck. This was competition disguised as friendship. We'd started at the company together, same level, same ambition. But my growth had been faster, not dramatic, just steady. Better projects, slight promotions, more visibility. And every time I moved forward, Carly became more supportive, more involved, more helpful. Now I understood why. She wasn't helping me succeed, she was helping herself stay ahead. I checked my email settings next, and there it was, an automatic forwarding rule I'd never created. Any email containing words like recruiter, hiring, opportunity, interview, forwarded to an external address. The address looked random, spam-like, except for the initials at the beginning, CB Carly Bennett, which meant one chilling truth: she saw my opportunities before I did. And if she had that advantage, how many chances had I actually lost? I called IT the next morning. Calm voice, casual tone. Inside, I felt anything but calm. "Hi. I think there's a security issue with my email," I said. "There's a forwarding rule I didn't create." Marcus from IT pulled up my account. Silence. Then, "Yeah, I see it. Created about 8 months ago." 8 months. 8 months of someone reading my opportunities before I did. Then Marcus added something that made my chest tighten. "It was created while you were on vacation." I remembered instantly. That trip to visit my sister. Carly Bennett had offered to monitor urgent emails. I'd trusted her, given her access. Marcus kept checking logs. The rule came from inside the building, workstation 42. My voice barely held steady. "That's not my desk." Pause. "That's Carly Bennett's station." Silence. Professional silence. Then, "I'm logging this as a security breach. Change your passwords immediately." When I hung up, everything felt heavier. She hadn't guessed my opportunities, she'd been watching them. In real time, and if she'd seen them first, how many chances had she quietly erased? Knowing wasn't enough anymore. I needed proof others would believe. So I contacted the recruiter who'd warned me. Carefully, professionally. She hesitated at first. Confidentiality, legal concerns. Then I explained what I'd uncovered. Her tone changed instantly. "You're not the first," she said quietly. That stopped me cold. "What do you mean?" "We flagged calls from Carly Bennett before. Different candidates, similar warnings." My stomach dropped. So this wasn't personal, it was strategic. She sent documentation that afternoon. 5 pages, 3 women, all similar roles, similar career stages, all quietly undermined. Then I contacted one of them, a former intern named Jessica. Her reply came fast. "Oh my God, yes. Carly ruined my offer too." I asked if she had evidence. "Better," she said. "I've seen her folder. She keeps records, notes, screenshots, names." A folder. Which meant this wasn't emotional sabotage. It was organized, intentional, and probably still happening. Now I had a pattern, victims, documentation, but I still needed undeniable proof tied directly to me. So I set one final trap. A big one. I applied for a high-level internal promotion, director of marketing, a role Carly would definitely see as competition. Then I told her, casually, coffee break conversation, "I'm thinking about applying for the director role." Her reaction was instant, surprise, then forced support. "That's ambitious," she said. "Are you ready?" "I think so. Would you review my materials?" Too eager. She said yes immediately. That night I prepared 2 application files, one clean. One with an invisible watermark embedded in the metadata. The digital fingerprint. I sent Carly the marked version, pretended to use her feedback. Submitted the clean version officially. 2 days later, HR called. Patricia sounded serious. "Miss York, we received an anonymous complaint about your application." My pulse slowed, controlled, expected. "And the attached file," she added, "has a tracking signature that leads back to you." Exactly as planned, the trap had closed. But now came the hardest part, proving it publicly. The HR meeting felt surreal. Patricia looked confused, not accusatory. "Shandy, how did your application end up in an anonymous complaint email?" I stayed calm. "Can I see the email first?" She turned her monitor toward me. Professional wording, harsh claims, accusations about my integrity, and attached, the exact watermarked file I'd sent Carly Bennett. Not the clean one. I opened my laptop. "That document has a hidden digital watermark," I explained. "I embedded it intentionally." Patricia leaned closer. "It was only sent to one person," I continued. "Carly Bennett." Silence, then understanding. "You set a trap." "Yes. Because evidence beats suspicion." I handed over everything. IT logs from her workstation, recruiter documentation, voicemail proof, risk notes file, Jessica's testimony. 3 years of timeline evidence, organized, clear, impossible to dismiss. Patricia finished reviewing the stack slowly. Then she looked up. "We need a formal investigation meeting." Pause, with Carly present. And suddenly, this wasn't private anymore. It was exposure. The meeting was scheduled for Friday. 3 days. 3 long days. I documented everything. every comment, every coincidence, every rejection timeline. By Friday, the evidence spanned 3 years, 47 opportunities, 47 sabotage points. I arrived early. Evidence folder ready. Patricia was there. Another HR rep, company legal counsel, serious room, career-altering room. Carly Bennett walked in 5 minutes later, calm, polished, friendly. "What's this about?" she asked lightly. Then she smiled at me. "Hey Shandy, everything okay?" I didn't smile back. Patricia began formally. "We're investigating potential professional interference involving Miss York." Carly's face shifted to concern instantly. Convincing concern. "Oh no, what happened?" she asked. "Shandy, are you all right?" Oscar-worthy performance. If I didn't know the truth, I might have believed her. Patricia continued. "We have evidence suggesting you contacted recruiters about Ms. York." Carly widened her eyes. "What?" "Never. I'd never do that." Then she pivoted, exactly as I expected. "Honestly, I'm worried about her," she told HR. "The rejections have been hard on her. She's under stress." Classic move. Make the victim look unstable, shift credibility, control the narrative. But this time, the narrative wasn't hers anymore. And in a few minutes, neither would the room be. I'd expected this. The emotional deflection, the she's unstable angle. Carly Bennett always played concern when she felt cornered, so I didn't argue, didn't defend myself, didn't react emotionally at all. I simply opened my folder. One document at a time, calm, controlled. These are IT logs showing an email forwarding rule created from your workstation using my credentials. Slide. Documentation from 3 recruiting firms confirming you contacted them about me. Slide. This is a voicemail you left warning a recruiter about my stability under pressure. Slide. And this is the watermarked file you submitted anonymously to HR. Carly's smile disappeared slowly. Color drained. Confidence faded. Patricia reviewed the logs. "These clearly trace back to your computer, Miss Bennett." Carly tried quickly. "I was helping her while she was on vacation. Maybe I clicked something accidentally. Accidentally forwarded 8 months of recruiting emails to your personal account?" I asked quietly. Silence. Then her tone shifted. Harder now. "Shandy's struggling professionally. She needs someone to blame." Classic tactic. But this time, the evidence was louder than her narrative, and the room knew it. Patricia stayed professional. "Miss Bennett, the documentation is substantial." Carly's voice rose slightly. "I was trying to help her. She kept failing interviews. I thought something was wrong." I stayed silent, letting her keep talking. That was when people usually expose themselves. "And honestly," Carly added, "her behavior lately has been erratic. The constant job applications, the paranoia." She looked at HR. "I think she needs support, not an investigation." Patricia made a note. "So you acknowledge accessing her email?" I didn't say that. Then Carly turned to me, wounded expression perfectly rehearsed. "I can't believe you'd do this to me after everything I've done for you." The legal advisor finally spoke. "We also have a voicemail recording." Before Carly could respond, I pressed play. Her voice filled the room. Smooth, polite, damaging. Serious concerns about her stability under pressure. The silence afterward was heavy. Patricia looked directly at Carly. "You mentioned having screenshots. What screenshots were those?" Carly didn't answer, because now, the performance had nowhere left to hide. For the first time, Carly looked scared. Not defensive, not confident. Just scared. I didn't mean for it to go this far," she said quietly. No one interrupted. Silence makes truth louder. Finally she exhaled. "You were always ahead of me. Better interviews, better feedback, better opportunities, and I couldn't stand it." There it was. Not concern, not protection, competition, weaponized friendship. I spoke calmly. "So you sabotaged 47 opportunities over 3 years?" Her eyes widened. "I didn't sabotage. I slid the timeline forward. Every application, every rejection, every interference. Documented, consistent, undeniable. And this," I added, holding up the risk notes file, "is where you wrote, 'If she gets promoted, I'm done.'" Carly looked at the document, then at HR, then at me. "I was scared of losing my place," she whispered. The legal advisor closed his folder. "I believe we have sufficient evidence." And just like that, the truth wasn't private anymore. It was official. The consequences weren't dramatic. They were realistic, quiet, professional, final. Patricia called the following Monday. "Carly Bennett has been placed on administrative suspension pending investigation." 2 weeks, she said. But other changes happened faster. recruiters contacted me directly, apologizing, clarifying, reopening doors that had been quietly shut. Coworkers suddenly avoided eye contact. Rumors faded once documentation surfaced. I didn't celebrate. Honestly, I mostly felt relief and grief. 3 years of stalled growth, 3 years of self-doubt that wasn't mine to carry. Then Wednesday afternoon, an email arrived. From the company I'd dreamed about years earlier, the one Carly had sabotaged. We recently learned the negative reference we received was fraudulent. We would welcome the opportunity to re-interview you. I read it twice, then once more, hands slightly shaking. Finally, I replied, "Yes, I'm interested." And for the first time in years, hope felt safe again. I accepted the offer 2 weeks later. The process was clean, professional, fair, no interference, no hidden sabotage, just my qualifications speaking for themselves. Carly tried contacting me during that time. Texts, voicemails, apologies. I was wrong. I didn't realize how far it went. You were my best friend. I didn't respond, because friendship doesn't destroy someone's future, and apologies don't rewrite 3 years. The investigation concluded quietly. Termination, policy violations, breach of trust. HR asked if I wanted legal action. I declined. The truth was enough. Closure was enough. On my final day at the old office, I packed my desk calmly. No drama, just forward motion. That night, sitting in my apartment, I realized something. I hadn't failed. I'd been obstructed. And now, I was free. Stronger boundaries, clearer instincts, better future. I thought that was the end, closure, peace, until one last email arrived. Subject line, "We need to talk about what Carly did to the others." And suddenly, this story wasn't finished.